afternoon. I always salute those who make it because it's like you should be on a bus going to a beach or vacation somewhere. So thank you very much for being here. I teach women's entrepreneurial leadership at the George Washington University, and I'm a former corporate climber, nonprofit executive, and we've got a bunch of serial entrepreneurs here who are really going to share with you the ins and outs of what it's like to start and run their business, and sometimes multiple businesses. They're also at a different level than a lot of entrepreneurs in the sense that most of them have raised capital more than once, which is a job in and of itself. And because we have a small group here, we can keep this really interactive. So if there's something you've always wanted to know, I'm telling you, like, these are the people you definitely want to ask. So, you know, if you need that extra bolt of adrenaline, get it going now, and I'll introduce our panel. We'll start off the first question with just, you know, their background and how they got started. But before that, let me just ask you all, how many of you are currently entrepreneurs? Raise your hand. Okay, how many of you are just interested in entrepreneurship? Okay, and so this will be a great forum for you to ask speculative questions as well as growth questions. And what I want to do is introduce Heidi Callett, who is the owner of the Dandelion Patch, Claire Conti, who is a serial entrepreneur and has been involved with multiple businesses that she'll tell you about, Tanya Harmon, who is the founder of Harmony Systems and also a serial entrepreneur. We've got Jill Stelfox, who's the CEO and founder of Code9, is that right? One of many ventures in a long line of serial entrepreneurship. And Christina Bueri, and when you see those Reston limousine vans and vehicles going around this area, think of Christina because that's her company. So what I wanted to do is just go right down the line here and get a sense of how you got into entrepreneurship and what your journey has been like, and do just a quick 5 minutes. And I'll just pass my mic down. Oh, yeah, I'll just, you can start, sure.
Is it working? My name is Christina Bueri, and I was not the founder of my business. I have a degree in international affairs, and I went to GW, and my senior year, I was an intern at a nonprofit organization, the Overseas Education Fund. And with that job, I went overseas. They offered me a job when I graduated. I went back to Africa, and I worked for 2.5 years there. During that time, I decided I didn't want to do that for a living, and I came back to the States, and it was a recession, and the only job I could find was 100% commission sales in advertising. So by going through the yellow pages and cold calling, I cold called William Bueri, my husband now, and we started dating, and he said, quit your job and come work for me. So I did not found the company. I was not the founder, but we met that way, and then we got married, worked together for 10 years, and then he decided to take some time off because we were building a house. And 2 months into that time off, I said, don't come back. So for the last 10 years, my husband's been a stay-at-home dad, and I've run the business by myself, and we're still married, and I've tripled the company since he left.
Hi, I'm Jill Stelfox. I went to school to become an accountant, and I was a CPA and worked for one of the large firms for 6.5 years. And then one day, the partner called me in his office and said, oh my gosh, I have great news. We started this women's issues thing, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna work really hard to get you promoted to partner of this accounting firm, and in 2 years, you could be just like me. And had he not said just like me, I probably wouldn't have quit 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, I quit, and I never looked back. And I started running a company when I was 28, and have run 4 companies, raised about $50 million in venture capital, and returned about $1 billion. So it's a little stressful, but it's a lot of fun.
Hi, I'm Tanya Harmon. I'm the founder of a company here locally called Harmony Information Systems. I would say I'm a serial entrepreneur since the age of 7. When I first picked all the berries in my yard and sold them to all the neighbors, then my parents found out. And I've been running businesses ever since. And
It's a really low cost of goods.
That's right.
Yeah.
Highly profitable. Harmony is the first big venture that I did. I actually was telling them earlier that I ran one taking au pairs on trips all over the country. I did that for a few years. Harmony, I started in about '96 from my sun porch. It was unheated. I worked there every night after I put my baby and my preschooler to bed after working all day. And I was possessed by this idea of building this product that I'd had in my head for years. And I didn't have any business plan, I didn't have a customer, I just had this idea. And it is a case management and financial management system for human services, and pays foster care room and board bills and Meals on Wheels, things like that. Anyway, I was possessed by the idea. I had no money. My husband was in the Navy, and I'm Canadian. I didn't know a soul here, and I started the company from that cold sun porch. My fingers would be numb by 2 in the morning because it was so cold. My feet were frozen. But I did that for 2 years and came out with the software. 6 months later, I had sold 4 copies and put in a bid for Fairfax County and won a $2 million deal. And I never looked back. Grew it into a multi-million-dollar business and brought in about 40 to 45 million in venture capital. I've since left the company and started something completely new called Pauline's Cookbook. It's a blog / cookbook / writing social media attempt, just to learn and to have fun. So.
Hi, I'm Clara Conti. Let's see, I got my start by studying, believe it or not, journalism and computer science in school, because I actually thought I wanted to go into broadcasting but knew I could get a job in the technology field, and that actually ended up that's what ended up happening. I started my career kind of doing technical writing, and I kept getting promoted into management positions because I'm kind of a little bossy and controlling, and as through the years I ended up running projects, working at a big defense contractor called SAIC. And while I was doing that, I had a customer that said, you know, you should really go and start your own company. You know how to do this, you know how to bring in money, you've had all your training, why don't you do it? So with $3,000 in the bank, I started my own company focused on distributed simulation. We sold it for cash 7 years later, and since then, I've worked as a serial entrepreneur for startups, for venture-funded companies, and I've run one public company. But it's the kind of thing that I enjoy doing, is coming in and revitalizing a company, rebranding it, and turning it around.
Hello everyone, my name is Heidi Callett and I own the Dandelion Patch. I'm a retailer. I've got a couple of stores in the Northern Virginia area, and we focus on custom invitations and high-end stationery. I was the president of the Junior League, which is a women's charity. It's roughly a 3-year term, and at the end of that term, my husband looked at me and said, "You're going to drive me and you crazy if you don't find something else to do." And so I had the luxury of trying to figure out what it was I wanted to build for our future, and I actually bought the business. And at the time, it was about $125,000 worth of revenue. It was about the size of this table. The air conditioner never worked, and there were potholes out front. It doesn't look anything like that today. We've grown about 425%. Certainly, what I am still waiting for the glamorous days of not having to schlep inventory in my car, which hasn't happened yet. But I love everything about building a business, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.